Hey guys, I'm EthAnswers from Stockroom Supply. Tim actually emailed us, and he was looking at a Flatmaster, wondering about the capacities, and had heard through other videos that you can sand past the end with the Flatmaster. But he wanted to see this, and I assumed we had already done this video, but then I realized we've never actually done a video of sanding past the end with a Flatmaster drum sander. So that's what we're going to do today. So this here is a piece of oak that I glued up probably 8 years ago. It had a big warp, so I cut it in half and I've re-glued it to straighten it out. And now I'm gonna re-sand it here. So this is 24.5 inches wide, just under 24.5. I'm using the 24-inch Flatmaster. So this is just beyond the capacity of this particular sander, but that's the beauty of it. There's no limit to how, well, there is a limit, but you can sand past the end. So essentially, that doubles the limit of what the width of you're able to sand. So, if that makes sense. So, what we're going to do is I'll show you how I have this set up to do that, and we're sanded. The way I have the Flatmaster set up right now to do this extra wide board is I have my fences on there. I have a pair of fences, and I've bolted them together in the kind of extended out feed table capacity. There's a video on that shows how to do that. I'll link that up above. But that, rather than give me an 18-inch wide table, that gives me a 36-inch long table. So that makes it far easier for these bigger pieces. And then I got my 4 feather wheels over here. I've got the fence set up so that I've got about 13 inches of drum exposed right here. So a little over half the board I'm going to sand per pass. So what I'll do is I'll push this through right like that. I'll flip it all the way around 180 degrees, and then I will sand the other side. I have a 60 grit on here right now, and I don't know if you can tell with the camera, but this board is pretty warped. When I glued it up, it was still a little bit wet, so it's got some cupping stuff going on. So that 60 grit here, that's what we're going to use to make this flat to get started. Okay, so we're pretty much ready to go. I just wanted to mention I do have my Canvac dust collector set up here. We're going to be making a lot of dust with that 60 grit paper here. So the bottom of the sander will fill up quickly. So if you're doing some heavy sanding like this, make sure you got a decent dust collector hooked up. That's important. And then the other thing I'll mention, if you are doing this, don't use a really old piece of sandpaper. You want that Velcro to be nice and crisp and fresh and stick really well, especially on this end. If you have a piece that you've put on and taken off a million times, it's not going to stick as good, and this may lift up and get a little flappy on you. So that's what we want to avoid here. So anyways, a nice crisp, probably a new piece of sandpaper. The sandpaper for these machines isn't incredibly expensive, so I would start with a fresh piece of paper and go from there. Okay, so we're ready to sand here. Let's turn this on. So this first piece here had a little bit of glue. Yeah, so you can see where I was sanding right there. Some of these glue chunks made it a little bit hard to push across. And the other thing, this piece of paper is probably not quite new enough here, but I got a way I can fix that here. So yeah, so now that we've sanded this side, we've gotten the high spots off this side. We'll rotate this all the way around and sand the opposite side. Okay, so I guess one thing I'll mention here. One thing about my videos is I rarely edit anything out, especially when I screw something up. So this here I would consider that a screw up. This paper was a little bit too old, but here's what we're going to try to do here. And this is what you can do if you're having trouble with that lifting off. This is just a piece of masking tape. We're going to put this masking tape right here. But the secret to this is we need to wrap this really, really tightly so that that actually stays, whoops, down. We don't want this masking tape to be proud of the rest of that sandpaper, and because it's on Velcro, it shouldn't be a problem, because if you guys have watched other videos on this, you know how the sandpaper actually lifts off the drum. This isn't going super well. I'm trying to wrap that tight, but so we'll put this tape on there. And we're going to call that good. Yeah, we're fine there. Okay, let's give her another shot here. So we've sanded this side, one pass. You can see some of the high spots are sanded. So now we're going to rotate this around and sand this side here. Okay, let me turn this on. Okay. So we have done one pass on each side here. So you can see right in the center here is the highest spot in my board. So every pass I make, I'm going to remove more and more from this high spot. The first few passes are going to be slow, but after that it's really going to start ramping up here once it gets flatter. We're about halfway through. I don't know exactly how many passes I've done, but you can see the progress we've made on the board. So obviously the center here was much higher than the rest. I know you won't be able to see in the video, but if I run my fingers along here, I can probably feel a 1/4 inch dip in there. So I think I've removed about a 1/4 inch so far from this board, from the high spots of this board, and I probably have another 1/4 inch to go or so. Now, one thing I wanted to point out was the feather wheels. Now, if you look at this, I've made this board far thinner, so these have gotten loose now. So I'm going to have to readjust my feather wheels because the thickness of this board has changed significantly. So before I get started again, I'm going to tighten these up. I'll show you how I do that. Basically, just loosen this knob, and we're just going to put pressure down right about there. I like to collapse it about 1/8 of an inch or so. Okay, so we're pretty well done sanding here now. So I was thinking about it, and probably what I really should have done, I have a router jig out back to flatten things. I should have done that first, because by the time I finished, I probably removed about 1/2 inch of material, which is a lot of passes. With a 60 grit, I'm removing about 32nd of an inch per pass. So 30 seconds is 1/2 inch times 2, because I'm sanding each side of the board. So I got to make 32 passes just to get rid of that 1/2 inch of material. So if you counted how many passes I did, probably very close to that. And this is a heavy board. Now, the other thing, I should show you where my straight edge go. A lot of guys will ask, how's the middle look? Is there an inconsistency in the middle? And no, very consistent all the way across. Nice and straight, nice and flat, which is a beautiful thing. And I went from this right here, or from this right here, so you can see how far off I am right there. So probably 3/8 of an inch on the far side here at least. Yeah, you can see that there. And then the big dip in the center. So yeah, you can definitely sand past the end with the Flatmaster. It's definitely something worth doing, and you can get very flat results, which is great. I would recommend use the fences in the extended version so that you have the in-feed and out-feed table. Makes it way easier when you're sanding long pieces like that. So yeah, if anybody else has any questions, you can email me at info@stockroomsupply.com or just comment on the video. Thanks for watching.